In this session, we will look at the basic attributes of securitization, the steps involved in securitization, what are the cash flows in securitization, and how are securitization transactions structured both initially and through the payment cycle. First, let's look at the basic attributes of assets that can be securitized. Assets that can be securitized are always characterized by future receivables, and only then will they qualify for securitization. For example, monthly mortgage payments on home loans, periodic repayments against motor car loans, credit card outstandings which are revolving in nature and repaid periodically as mandated by the issuer of the credit card, receivables of utility companies, that is payment of bills by customers monthly or quarterly for supply of electricity, water, etc. Hence, any portfolio of assets that is to be securitized is evaluated for the following attributes: quality of the underlying assets as well as the future receivables. 2. Average size of the receivables in the portfolio. 3. Periodicity of the future receivables. 4. Homogeneity of the assets that make up the portfolio. And last but not the least, the maturity composition of the future receivables against those assets. Now a quick look at the steps involved in securitization. All securitization transactions go through the following process from origination to final placement in the financial market. The originator, that is the financial institution that has disbursed the loans, creates a portfolio of such loans that are to be securitized and the associated receivables to be assigned. A special purpose vehicle is formed, popularly referred to as SPV, to manage this securitization portfolio. The SPV acquires the receivables at the discounted value, that is the present value of future receivables, and converts those receivables into securities. For example, say a portfolio of loans comprises 1,000 loans with individual loan values varying from $10,000 to $40,000, and let us say the average size of the loans in this portfolio is $25,000. This portfolio of 1,000 loans multiplied by the average loan value of $25,000 results in a corpus of $25 million, which is converted into, say, 12,500 asset-backed securities, each with a face value of $2,000. The SPV then issues these asset-backed securities either directly to the investors in the financial markets or back to the originator, who then takes it to the market. The servicing agent for this securitization portfolio, normally the originator, is charged with the responsibility to collect the receivables at specified periodicity in an escrow account and hand off the collections to the SPV. The SPV in turn either passes them immediately either to the investors in proportion to their holdings, which is referred to as pass-through, or holds the same to pay off the investors at pre-specified intervals, which is referred to as pay-through. We will look at pass-through and pay-through securities in great detail in a later session. In case one or more of the originators whose loan is included in that securitization portfolio defaults on his repayment obligation, the SPV will call on the servicing agent to initiate appropriate action as mandated for that securitization portfolio to recover the overdue amount. When only a small amount of the receivables is outstanding, the originator usually buys back the same from the investors. Now, a look at cash flows involved in securitization. Every securitization portfolio has several cash flows through its life from the perspective of the originator or the issuer of the portfolio. Initial cash flows, recurring cash flows, and terminal cash flows. The initial cash flows will include discounted value of future receivables such as mortgage payments. Second, the initial expenses including payment of legal fees, stamp duty, credit rating, etc. And then the initial corpus to set up the SPV. Next, subscription to any junior or residuary notes, which we will discuss in a later session. And 5, tax on accelerated income. Recurring cash flows would include expenses incurred in collecting the receivables, servicing fee, which is an inflow if the originator is also the servicing agent. And 3, cost of credit enhancements, which we will discuss in great detail in a later session. And finally, terminal cash flows, which will involve redemption of junior or residuary interests of the securitization portfolio and buyback of the tail cash flows. Structuring a securitization portfolio involves several entities and steps. Initial feasibility, key appointments such as investment bankers, credit rating agency, and legal advisors. Asset analysis and selection of the portfolio. Next, legal and financial feasibility, due diligence audit, credit rating, determining the structure, pass-through or pay-through, pay-down structures, credit enhancements, nature and constitution of the SPV, the legal structure of the portfolio, appointment of the servicer or the administrator, and so on. We will look at those aspects in great detail in the sessions to follow.